So we're back here on the Duncan Duo Show talking about the local real estate market, and it's no secret that with rising prices and now not really that much of rising interest rates, but they've bumped up a little bit, housing affordability has become a challenge for a lot of people. So I thought it'd be a good opportunity to speak for a few minutes about some ways you can rein that in and some choices you can make to help your own affordability. And I think it kind of just goes back to savvy. Just making savvy financial decisions and smart and staying within your means. You see so many people when the market and the economy are doing great, they want to keep up with the Joneses. So they buy a more expensive house, they buy a more expensive car, and all these types of things. And all of a sudden when the market shifts or people lose their job, they're in financial worry and woe. Angela, my wife, and you can register for this on Dave Ramsey's website, daveramsey.com. She just started teaching Financial Peace University out of our office in Tampa, and part of the reason for her doing that is because she feels like there's so many people that have that kind of mentality where they make bad financial decisions because they want to keep up with somebody, or they want a gadget that they really can't afford, or they spend money on something they shouldn't really spend. And we see this a lot in the home buying process, because home buyers will, let's say they're shopping for a $200,000 home. They go do the home inspection. Home inspection finds like $5,000 in repairs. Well, the seller ain't going to fix it, because that's just the market rent. The seller's going to say, I got 11 offers. Somebody will surely take the home as is and pay me more than you, so goodbye. And so the buyer ends up saying, okay, well, I want the perfect house. I don't want any repairs, so I'm going to go out and buy a $250,000 house. When in reality, they'll probably find stuff wrong with that one too. But they end up upping their budget thinking that's going to fix it. And the reality is they should have just taken the first house and made the minor repairs and been out of pocket a lot less money. But an ego play gets involved, and they want a home that's perfect or with less flaws, so they increase their budget and they push their limits. And then what happens when the economy takes a turn? So so many people make that mistake. If you're buying a home and you're inspecting it and you find some stuff wrong with it, unless you're talking something major, catastrophic, really sit down and think about the math. I'll do some analysis, because most of the time it makes sense to still move forward and buy it. And take care of the repairs in your first year or two of ownership versus going out and increasing your budget. You might say, oh, well, it's only increasing my payment by $120, and Mike Yates is getting rich off of it. But the and again, I mean, this speaks contrary to even our benefit. Our commission is a lower number. The title company is a lower number. I was just going to say that. I mean, here everyone in this room, we get compensated based on the sales price. So the higher the sales or purchase price, the more we make. And we're telling you, hey, it's not always in your best interest. No, because what ends up happening is you extend yourself, and then when the market goes south, there's no buffer for you. And let's face it, in my experience, the lower price homes are some of the easier ones to sell. They can still be turned into a rental. There are people that can buy them and renovate them. As you climb those price charts, it gets harder and harder to do that. So, I would strongly encourage you to really think about it. If you're under contract on a home and there's some little things that maybe you don't like as much, and you figure, oh, I have enough, I can raise my budget, it's only going to cost me $100 a month. Really, no, it's not. It's costing you $50,000. It's not costing you $100 a month. It's costing you $50 grand. The $100 a month is the interest. You're tacking on a bigger amount that if the market shifts and turns, you could get stuck in that position where you don't have any equity left. And so many people, when affordability starts to weaken, they go the opposite direction, and they overindulge or they overspend because the market or the economy are great. They won't be great forever.
It's payment thinking versus debt thinking.
Right.
And on that affordability piece, talking about the payment, I think a lot of people, especially first-time home buyers, make the mistake of looking at online calculators, which can be good if they're used correctly, but what most don't factor in at all are real estate taxes, homeowners insurance.
Yep.
So I hear all the time, well, that payment's way higher than I expected, and it's because they've done an online calculator.
They went to an online calculator that estimated the taxes and estimated the insurance, and the estimates were way too low.
Exactly, or doesn't estimate them at all, and, if you're not putting down the 20%, odds are you're going to have PMI as well, which most online calculators don't factor in.
Yeah, very rarely should you trust an online calculator when it comes to calculating your entire mortgage payment.
Exactly.
Taxes and insurance are impossible to be calculated with an online calculator. You have
HOAs.
Every single property is different, whether it's got a homestead exemption, whether it's not homesteaded, what
CDD,
county it's in,
a CDD attached.
whether it's CDD, I mean, there's so many variables that a lender having run everything and telling you what your payment is the only way to go. And everything else can be off dramatically from, you know, one street to another, from one house. I mean, you could have the same brand new construction home, but one of them's still taxed. One of them was in 17, one of them's in 18, one of them was taxed on land value, one of them's taxed on house value, and your payment's going to be different. But, you know, really not stretching yourself, I think, is the key. And if you are looking for ways to cut costs, you know, like we talked about before, you know, if your title company's not strategic title, you know, give us a shot. Maybe you save some money on your title costs. You know, shopping around on lenders. Mike, you always tell people, hey, let me see what I can do. Let me see if I can beat what you got somewhere else.
Right, exactly. I tell every single person that you can find a better deal somewhere, you know, but at least give us the opportunity to match or beat. So just because you have an initial quote doesn't mean that's the end of it.
Well, and when you're talking mortgage quotes, I think the other key to it is knowing what the real quote is. They can say, oh, you know, this guy beat you by a quarter point in rate, but then he's got like $27,000 in closing costs.
Right, exactly.
Woo! You know, that's really not a good deal.
Right, you get the fees over and they're getting charged, you know, no points, but then they got a $2,000 underwriting fee, for instance.
And when it comes to fighting off affordability, unfortunately, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be able to get a great deal from the seller. You know, when you're buying a house, if you're buying in a, you know, above average and below price point, the ability to negotiate that much off the asking price is pretty slim. Where you're going to be able to save money is shopping around on some of your other fees and costs, maybe prolonging upgrades that you wanted to make and doing them later on, and sticking to a budget, not going above it, not increasing your price point when you find out that a couple of doors don't line up, a couple of GFI outlets don't work, and the garbage disposal's broken. Don't cancel the deal. I mean, yeah, I mean, we see it all the time. Unless it's, to me, unless it's a shot roof, a structural issue, termite infestation, or, you know, just major $10,000 in costs, it shouldn't be canceled. I mean, almost always people end up going out and buying a more expensive house when prices have appreciated more and rates have gone up, and then they're like, oh, well, we got this great deal. It's like, no, the great deal was the first one you canceled.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think one of the benefits of using the, you know, FAR bar with repair contract, the boilerplate is 1.5%. So even if you're using an as-is contract, just think about that the other contract has 1.5% of repair. So just figure that you're going to need that. So if you're buying a $300,000 house, it's probably $4,500 worth of stuff that if you can't negotiate it, it's just part of.
Yeah, and I always set the expectation to think of the home inspection as a way to, number one, make sure that there's nothing majorly wrong, you know, in terms of, you know, tens of thousands of dollars in repairs, and number two, use it as a blueprint for what you're going to take care of in the first couple of years. You know, it's not a list of things a seller's going to repair. I cannot tell you how often I have an as-is contract and the agent on the other side sends a repair list over. It's like, no, it's an as-is contract. You have two choices. Move forward, cancel. That is it. Like, and Aaron, you got your attorneys have come in and spoke to us about this.
Absolutely.
It is, you know,
the minute that list comes over, that is a renegotiation,
yeah,
and that's off. You can
it's
cancel.
A default.
That's right. Default.
And we had it happen. The seller said, goodbye, you just defaulted on the contract. You didn't have that right. Agents, well, they say, well, I've done it all the time. Well, yeah, I speed on the Gandy. You know, like that doesn't mean it's right. You know, and so does Roberto from my office. But that does not mean that it's right or that it's okay just because you did it a few times. You know, but you get that. You know, you'll have the agent say, well, this is the normal course of practice for me. Well, apparently they don't have attorneys come into your office and tell you what's good with contracts and what's not, because it's not. It is a renegotiation. It basically means you've defaulted. If the seller has other offers that have come in after your offer got accepted as better, you're gone. Yeah. And it happens, and the agent is irate about it when really they should have never sent over that repair list. You know, and as is contract, you get two choices. And again, I want to preface this because there's probably attorneys listening. You know, every contract's different. Every contract's going to have different language. There's all kinds of different variations of contracts. We're not speaking about all of them. There's one specific type of as-is contract that gets used a lot, and that's the one that we're referring to. So, but again, if you open up renegotiations with an as-is contract, you can lose the deal, and the seller is not obligated. They're literally, that contract gives you two choices, assuming all other terms and conditions are met. There's all kinds of different, you know, areas of you know, possibilities, but when it comes to the inspection period, it is, you get this many days to inspect, you get to move forward, or you get to cancel.
And
Anything
that's why-
outside of that that's put into writing is pushing the limit.
And that's why you have a buyer consultation to go through all of this when you go through a home buying process. You might have bought another home in another state, but going through and explaining, hey, we're going to have an inspection, and telling them what's going to happen, what's from that. You know, you have good bones, and like you said, a couple of doors and, you know, a bunch of minor handyman stuff. If they say, oh no, you have to ask for this repair, you should be educated enough to say, okay, the second you raise your hand and we're in this market with a month worth of inventory, you might have just lost it to $10,000 over, and that somebody's not going to ask for anything because they're glad that they got the second chance.
So let's give home buyers a way to kind of even the odds here a little bit. I want15k.com, home buyer assistance, down payment assistance for home buyers is something we offer at our office. You can get down payment assistance up to $15,000 in Tampa at I want15k.com. You register, you take a class at our office. Mike will be there. He'll tell you all the opportunities and ways that you can get the down payment assistance. Because if you get that, then you're giving yourself the buffer for the repairs, and then it gives you less of an issue. And so you know, we got about a minute, Mike, before the break. But if you want to talk about that class and down payment assistance really quickly.
Yeah, we do the class the second Tuesday of every month. I'm sorry,
Saturday.
every Saturday.
Second Saturday.
Yeah.
We changed it.
Second Saturday, right? Second Saturday of each month. It's about an hour-long class, and we just talk about the benefits of the $15,000 assistance program that's offered, and you know, it's always with an agent from the Duncan Duo team as well to talk about the home buying process too.
So again, it's I want15k.com. I can't say the domain name that we wanted to buy. Because I would get the FCC.
I think you should buy it anyway.
I want
To the landing page.
I want15k.com. If you or someone you know is a first-time home buyer and wants down payment assistance, and realistically, if we're talking about $10,000 or $15,000 in home repairs, if you get the down payment assistance, it's helping buffer and cover you should you run into some unknown expenses or repairs. But again, I can't say it enough that so often people cancel contracts for really little, simple, stupid reasons and end up spending too much money, spending more money, then they spend more money on another inspection, another appraisal, and it all adds up just so they could trick themselves into thinking that they're going to get a perfectly clean inspection report. I can tell you, through thousands of home sales, I've never seen one.
It's a used house. There's going to be something wrong with it.
Even on a brand new home, there's never been an inspection report where something wasn't found. You know, so just kind of get it in your mind that there's things that are going to be found. So we'll be back wrapping up with our last segment here on the Duncan Duo Show. When we aren't on air, make sure to check out all of our socials at the Duncan Duo. We'll be back on 970 WFLA.